Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sets to constitute his cabinet, the screening of the Senate is all but done, as so far 23 ministerial nominees have been screened, with 5 left to be screened tomorrow. But beyond these legislative rituals is the expectations as to what they have to bring on board, especially now that the government has developed a roadmap on how to achieve economic reforms with better welfare policies for citizens. But before we begin our conversation tonight, let's get to see this report put together by correspondent Michael Olale.
The pathway to economic prosperity is encapsulated in the renewed hope agenda of the present administration, and in delivering on this mandate, there is need for the appointment of ministers who will implement to the later government's policies and direction. With the president fulfilling this constitutional responsibility through his chief of staff exactly 60 days after his assumption of office, Nigerians say is a demonstration of the readiness to rapidly transform all sectors of the economy.
The determination of the president is to find people who will genuinely be committed to the transformation of this country. So I think I have a positive attitude, and I will encourage Nigerians to have positive attitude.
From Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, to Wale Edu, a former commissioner for finance in Lagos State, political analysts say the list is a rich combination of youthfulness, creative minds, professionalism, and energy.
There is Professor Ali Pate. Ali Pate was former Minister of Health. He's a doctor, medical doctor, a professor of medicine, and mark you, the man wasn't looking for a job. A job was offered to him 2 weeks ago, or about 3 weeks ago, at Gavi, which was an international appointment. But he turned it down because he wants to serve his country. So there is virtually no one on that list that you say is a professional politician who has no other address. Every one of them has other addresses.
With the promises the personalities present, Nigerians say the actualization of the renewed hope agenda will be determined by the portfolio they occupy.
I want these key areas to be given to those who really understand the terrain very well. Economic team. They should be people who understand the macro and economic and microeconomic dynamics, and then how to balance our fiscal policies, our trade deficit, and all that. We want those who will man the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Interior, to be people who can provide solutions to our security problem and challenges.
While Nigerians await the next and final batch of ministerial nominees, the sky is clouded with expectations in which meeting the demands of the citizenry will go a long way in scoring performances. In Lagos, Michael Olale.
Right, that report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. We'd like to introduce our guests to you. Let me welcome to this program Jide Ojo, who's a public affairs analyst. Thanks for being with us here.
My pleasure. Good evening, Nigerians.
Okay. Let me also introduce tonight. He's been here a number of times. In fact, one of the regulars on this program as well. Sani Yabagi is chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. Engineer Yabagi, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Siri. Good evening, Nigerians.
Right. We're joined tonight by Faith Wadishi, Center for Transparency Advocacy. Good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. Good evening, Nigerians. Thank you for having me.
And also joining us is lawyer and international affairs analyst Umar Nasara Kugu.
It's always my honor to be here for Nation Building.
Okay, thank you. Well, tonight, as is usual on every Tuesday, at some point in time, we'll open the phone lines and you can get to join the conversation. But at that time, we will refresh your memory. We'll remind you of the procedures and the process. But for now, let's get into the issues tonight, which is the screening of nominees for ministerial positions in President Tinubu's cabinet and expectations. And we start off on a general note, and Jide, starting with you, what do you make of the nominees? And so far 23 have appeared before the Senate, and what do you make of them and the process?
Okay, so we are back to the ritual, which happens every 4 years, or as the case may be, even for states where there is off-cycle election, it's still every 4 years you have to do this. So the president on the 58th day after inauguration forwarded the names of 28 ladies and gentlemen to the National Assembly, which was delivered by the Chief of Staff, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila. And of course, it's been generating mixed reactions. As far as I'm concerned, the president has not run foul, at least in terms of what the Constitution recommends for him to as criteria for selection. What I will consider the president has not fully complied with is the number, because the altered Constitution of March 2023 talked about within 60 days, he needed to submit names of all the nominees, and he sent 28 names on the eve of that expiration of time. But Section 147 sub 3 did say that every state must be represented in the cabinet. So it's expected that we'll have minimum of 36 or 37. And of course, that phrase in the Constitution says minimum. So you can have more than 37. When I say 37, I mean 36 states and FCT. But in terms of composition of the background and qualifications, we also must have our mind. A lot of people talk about, we need technocrats and not politicians. And my research in the course of preparing my column a couple of weeks ago shows that Section 147 sub 5 of the Constitution says for anybody to be appointed a minister, he must satisfy condition that is similar to that of an aspirant to House of Reps. And when you look at the provision in the Constitution for qualification to run for House of Reps, it shows that you have to be a member of a political party and be sponsored by that party. So invariably, you are expected to be a politician. Alhaji Yabagiya is an engineer, but he's also a politician. He's a party chairman. He's a presidential candidate. Will you say he's not a technocrat? Or someone like Professor Ali Pate, who is a professor of medicine, or someone like architect Dangiwa from Katsina. So these are people with backgrounds. There are those who have background in law. There are those who have background in medicine, in architecture, in engineering. Look at someone like Engineer Dave Umahi, the immediate past governor of Ebonyi State, who is also, from being a governor 3 months ago, he has skipped 2 orders from being a governor to being a senator to becoming a minister. And he has joined the elite club of GSMs, very elitist club where only very handful Nigerians belong to that. So in terms of composition, we have 7 ladies, 7 women out of 28, which are approximately 25% of the composition. Then in terms of age configuration, I think one of the oldest is Mr. Dele Alake, 66. Quite a number of them are in their 50s, 40s, and in fact, we have 36 year-old Betta Edu, Dr. Betta Edu. Incidentally, Betta Edu was, as a doctorate, I don't know whether of medicine or whether a PhD, but was a former commissioner for health in Cross River State, and
All right, thank you so much. You've raised so many issues, but let's come to Engineer Bagisani, who should give us an insight into his general feeling about what's been going on, the nominees and the screening so far.
Yeah, well, I think so far so good. You know, the only area that I think Mr. President should extend his list to is to see how he can include members of the opposition party, because today there is an urgency of now, in the sense that the political instability in the country requires all hands to be on deck, so that, because without political stability, no matter the qualification or expertise or dexterity of the people that you have as ministers, it will be difficult to achieve anything, really. So I think that there's a need, a strong need for Mr. President to see how we can bring in members of political parties. I understand that some of the opposition are in court, and perhaps that may not allow them to come out, very openly as it is today. But this is politics, and it can be done. I'm sure it can be done.
Well,
by reaching out.
At least you've seen a nominee who's from an opposition party, and yet his party is still in court.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but again, that nominee does not fit the kind of olive branch that I want him to extend.
All right.
I'm talking about people that are truly and sincerely, bona fide members of their party, that do not have the kind of issues surrounding the nominee you are talking about. Okay. I cannot say that he's not a member of that party. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that the array of the people that Mr. President has brought forward, believe you me, I think it's like our first 11, because when you take each one of them and assess the person in his area of endeavor, you will find that it's one of the top, in that area of his activities. So I want to really, congratulate Mr. President for what he has done in terms of the experience, the professionalism of the people. And there are key sectors of the economy, and I have seen amongst the people that were, screened, yesterday and today, that can fit, like you say, put round pegs in the round hole, to especially the area of finance, how we can get our economy, to run, full steam. All the cylinders should be fired at this point in time, because there's an urgency of now, like I said. Mr. President, on his first day, had drawn, a line, on the sand that this is where I stand, and this does not go well with the people of this country. It's a bitter pill. Yes, I understand. You have to, first of all, sometimes go through some hardship before you can, have, the kind of life that, people deserve. So for that reason, there is a need for us to see how we can quickly, bring about succor for the people of this country. Palliatives, yes, but I think we should go beyond just talking about palliatives. You look at the issue of unity of this country. That's also very important, because there has been some restiveness
as we go on in
areas. So, but as far as the individuals are concerned, as far as the screening itself is concerned, I think to an extent one can say that so far so good.
Okay.
And don't forget that confirmation is still coming. It doesn't stop at just screening. The Senate will have to confirm, and then maybe at that point in time we'll know that those that have scaled through the process as is spelled out in the Constitution.
All right, thank you so much. Let's come to Faith Madishi and hear your side of the story.
Thank you so much. Actually, my concern is about the number of women that are nominated. We have 28 nominees, and out of those are 7. So it's like every circle we have to still continue to have those conversations. Since 1999, we have had this conversation about the underrepresentation of women at the ministerial level. The only time we had a sizable number of women was during the President Obasanjo regime, when he had 9 women out of 30 ministerial nominees. The last regime, the last government, we had 6 out of 43 and then 7 out of 42. And it calls to question the sincerity of the kind of manifestos and campaign promises that we see. Because during the campaigns, it was clear that 35% was going to be given in appointive, and then in other elected positions from party and across the line that you are going to have 35%. So we now have about 25%, 7 out of 28. It's not campaign promise delivered. So we still need to continue to advocate that there has to be women. We're still trying to recover from the number of women who got elected into the different offices across the state. The Senate, we have just 3 women. The same thing at the House of Reps. We don't have that number on the floor. And you could see during the process of screening, you see that the women that have been appointed, number 1, are square pegs in square holes. They are able to hold their own. But when you have a situation such that you're kind of lonely at the top, as they say, and you don't have the number to help to push those policies, you begin to question the impact that women are having in the electoral process. Now, from the elections through the campaigns, you see the women supporting because of that promise that, fine, we're going to give 35%. So we thought that this was going to be a little bit different. We hope that the remaining states, like Jide said, we only have 28. We're expected to have at least 37, one per state. We need to ensure that those other states, the remaining states that are coming, we have more women. There's nothing wrong with us having about 10 women or as ministerial nominees, at least to give the women, just give them that assurance that they are part of this process and not just out there. And talking about women, the whole issue around inclusion, because the campaigns were also around the inclusion, looking at persons with disability. The FCT case has also been put on the table. We're working presently now with the FCT. Last week I was in Geneva, where I made a statement concerning the FCT, original inhabitants of the FCT. And to say that since 1976, an indigene of the FCT have never been appointed, has never sat on the table as a minister. The Federal Executive Council has never sat there, has never been appointed as the FCT minister. It's something we should look at. So if we're able to address these three key things about inclusion, especially, and we'll look at the inclusion of women, persons with disability, and also making a special case for the original inhabitants of the FCT, then it will give us that picture of, a semblance of the fact that these promises were made during campaign, and there is already, the ability to begin to fulfill those campaign promises, so that we don't have to go back. The last regime, you remember, the women had these 5 bills that were supposed to be included in the constitution. The 5 bills were thrown out of the conversation. Women actually went to court and got judgment that there should be 35% affirmative action in all of that. So we should actually begin to ask that these things be implemented, even as we are also looking at having a balanced representation and looking at the issues of peace and peace building and integrating all of the voices that we have that can help us to achieve that unity that we so much are looking for.
All right, thank you so much. Now time for Ministerial to come in here and let's hear you, and then we can raise other issues with you.
Yes, ordinarily you may think things are normal, going by the provisions of sections 130, 147, and 14.3 of the Constitution. You may think things are all right, and one will say, yes, we have ministerial nominees. But that is the paradox, because I'm not comfortable with the procedure and the processes for the evolution of these nominees. Number one, none of the nominees is a young man. So where is the promise of the president that young people will be catered for under his administration? Number two, 80% or at least 70% of the nominees are recycled materials that are not the type of optimum qualities we need now for the humongous challenges of Nigeria. Greater number of them, it is trying to become a tradition now. You are an ex-governor or ex-minister or ex-senator, then you are recycled again, you come back. So long we maintain the dictum and the culture of recycling materials, so long we are blocking the chances of new innovations, new materials, and new fresh ideas to come in order to face the humongous challenges of Nigeria. And then secondly, I'm not comfortable with the processes. If the security agencies have done their works creditably, I do not see any reason why up to now there are petitions regarding some of the nominees. Petitions regarding some credentials, academic credentials, or what have you. Petitions regarding some people who have not done NYSC. History is a very good teacher. We should learn that under President Buhari's government, 2 of his ministers were indicted on account of non-performance of the mandatory youth service scheme. And there are some that there is an allegation that there is a court judgment barring some of them for a number of years, and so on and so forth. And then with all this, the Senate decided to take the customary practice of bow and go after some preliminary introductions and inquiries about the candidates. So anybody that knows the Nigeria of today knows that it is very, very expedient that you go into deep, serious grilling of whosoever will be saddled with the trust of becoming a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The humongous problems facing Nigeria, number one, the problems of ethnic, religious, and tribal problems in Nigeria. The question of national unity, you need to grill anybody that is coming as a minister, because you are not coming as a minister of your state. It's a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. How will your coming impact more on national unity? the issue of security, the issue of economy, the issue of youth unemployment. So many problems. It is therefore expedient that I expected that these ministers should be seriously grilled so that at the end of it, the best of them will be able to come up and not to the decision. So I pity the president because ultimately, under Section 130, he is the Chief Executive Officer of the Federation. He is the one now to be responsible for continuous inspection, set standards for them, continuously be inspecting them, be monitoring what they are doing. Otherwise, if that gap is not filled by the president, then I am sorry, probably we will see a repeat of the type of cabinet that left the office in the governance of Nigeria in the immediate past. Definitely speaking, Nigeria needs to go beyond the issue of sensationalism or class, because under sections 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 23, and 24, it is repugnant to the constitutional provision for you to say, because this one is a member of my class, let him take a bow and go. We must be able to really put Nigeria over and above any sensationalism based on class.
All right, so let me just stay a little while with you, a little longer, and bring up the matter of a second list which is expected to come out.
Yes.
Now, where the constitutional provisions, Julie started talking about that, 60 days within which the president. You think there is something here? Didn't the constitutional provision envisage that there might be a situation like this, where you now have outstanding numbers, you still have to bring a second list? Does that also satisfy the constitutional provision?
The constitutional amendment that was made under Section 174, subsection 3 down to 5, clearly says he should present ministerial list. It didn't say the total number of ministers.
Okay.
There is no provision whatsoever. The president has satisfied that constitutional requirement. He is at liberty subsequently to keep presenting them in piecemeal.
Well, just for the purposes of clarity,
Yes.
we had to ask that. So what if you had presented a list of 2? That would also satisfy.
Even if
or
it's
one.
He has already done it before the 60 days. Then subsequently he can present the other ones.
Okay, fine, fantastic. Well, Jide, you don't seem to agree to that.
Well, for me, I think that is being legalistic. The intent of the framers of the Constitution in altering that, in bringing about Section 42A, that the nomination should come 60 days, maximum of 60 days after inauguration, I don't think it envisages partial compliance. Because it's a different ball game if there is no Section 147 sub 3, which says there will be representation by every state. Now, assuming without considering that these 28 were inaugurated, as the case with INEC, where the president sometimes choose to nominate 3 national commissioners, 6 national commissioners, so that their tenure will not end about the same time. I'm not sure that is the intent of the framers of the Constitution. I feel that, and I beg to differ from my elder that if you present one, you are in fulfillment of that. No, that would be tantamount to repugnant to natural justice and logic, because 60 days, this president promised us he will hit the ground running, and I do not expect that he will make the selection all by himself. There was consultation with political parties, party leadership. We saw immediate past national chairman of APC and the immediate past secretary going back and forth, meeting with the president routinely. There are also the governors who influences the nomination of many of these candidates. So I feel that 60 days is sufficient. The president could have nominated the entire, because now there are rooms for speculation, and he's putting himself under intense pressure. Now we have 3 states where there are 2 nominees: Katsina, I think Bauchi, and Cross River. So the 11 states that have none. Incidentally, the president has been nominated for Lagos, which is his political base, and Osun State, where he also have some family relationship, and Kano, and some other Gombe and the rest of them. So this will continue to put him under intense pressure from those governors or party leaders or power brokers in those states, because if he had nominated Cyril, is at liberty after 1 week to even replace. All the ministers are lieutenants of the president. They serve at his pleasure. There is no constitutional provision that says you have to stick with these ministers for the duration of your tenure. And we saw that in the tenure, in the immediate past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, he did replace, between 2019 and 2023, he did replace Minister of Power and Minister of Agric. And we have a couple of ministers also resign. Those who resigned, like Mrs. Aisha Mohammed, who went to take on, while being a minister of environment, who went to take on UN job, and then Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, who resigned under controversial circumstances. So the point is, I feel the president should have made it a priority to have all the lists submitted, because some people may go to court to challenge the president that is in partial observance and in breach of the constitutional provision that says he has to submit list of his cabinet within 60 days. And I think to avoid that kind of needless controversy, we know we are a very litigious society. Even where it is clear, you can see the whole controversy about 25% in FCT, whether it is settled, it is not settled, where would their lordship, where would the pendulum swings. So people will find it convenient to go to court to seek legal interpretations whether the president is in full compliance with that constitutional alteration, or if he is not, what then becomes of those who will be on the second batch. Would there be issues with their nomination, with their confirmation? But I think one thing I also want to respond to is that our security agencies, are they doing a thorough job of screening these nominees? I saw on TV yesterday the nominee from Sokoto, including his school certificate where he had 2 credits and 2 passes. And when he was asked, how did you get to read law at Usman Fodio University when you did not have full complement of your result? He said he has passed, but he just felt he doesn't need to attach. I mean, I was shocked. To say the least, I was shocked. I feel that if he had sat for a receipt and had made his minimum entry requirement, he should have been bold enough to attach it, so that of course the president of the Senate said he should make sure that all the other qualification is attached, but he doesn't have to come back for screening. I think that does not show. I'm not impugning his person. I'm not saying, because he's been a deputy speaker in Sokoto State, he's been a member of the Sokoto State State House of Assembly, he's a lawyer. Even the former governor, Tambuwa, testified to his competence and all of that. But that seems to me to be a minus of a sort. If you have evidence that you've received and you have passed the minimum entry requirement, is to put it there rather than leaving room for speculation. So I am saying, particularly for the case of the gentleman, a former senator who there are even protests against his nomination that is been barred for some 10 years from holding any public office, I think the security report should have been attached to each of the nominees, because what I saw on display is the profile of the members. Whether the distinguished senators also have security reports, on each of the nominees. We know what this security report did to someone like Ibrahim Magu. On the 2 occasions that he was nominated, the DSS said this man is not fit and proper, and the Senate refused to confirm him. But in this case, whether the security clearance was not issued or was not attached to their resume or whatever is being considered, I do not know. But these are things I feel that due diligence ought to have been done, and the kind of controversy that we are seeing on national TV could have been averted.
Oh, so that takes us to the process itself, and that's where I want the IPAC chairman to comment on it, especially the other aspect of it too, which Minister raised here, the tradition of take a bow and go.
Yeah, there's one thing that we shouldn't lose sight of. I think I heard the Senate President saying that after this there's going to be confirmation when some issues came up.
Yeah, but that confirmation wouldn't be in the public view.
No, it will not be, but right. I think what they are waiting for, because I do not, like Jide was saying, I think these nominees were not yet, screened by the security agencies properly yet. Maybe they didn't have enough time to do it. But the window that the Senate will have is when they come to confirmation. Before confirmation, the security checks and everything would have been done. And I don't think there's anything in the Constitution which says that you must have the security report before you screen a nominee. So I think that's what I think is going to happen. Another issue of partial submission of the list by Mr. President, I don't think it's going to be an issue at all, because Section 147 of the Constitution says each state must have 1 minister. The same Constitution, that was amended to say that you must submit the list, to the ministerial list, to the Senate, also says that you must have 1 minister per state. So and you can't read the Constitution. When you're this Constitution, you have to read it, as a whole.
Yes, so but now you have 28 nominees.
Yeah,
still not what the Constitution says.
No, it's okay. I'm sure it's okay, because he must meet the requirement of the Section 147 of the Constitution.
So the question has been, has this whole process met the constitutional provisions? He seems to think yes.
The position of the law is the appointment. He has not appointed them yet.
Right.
It is when he appoints and you discover that it's only 28, then you can make your hue and cry.
Okay.
But for now, it is in the process. And he said that the second batch will come until he is going to get all these names completed before he now confirm that these are my ministers, and then swear him, and then give them appropriate portfolios. It has not reached that level. We are still in the process.
Yeah, but we're only taking the basics where the Constitution just didn't say confirmed. It says list of nominees, not confirmation of ministers. But anyway, faith.
So confirmation can come later. And then the issue of take a bow and go. I think the issue, that issue too, perhaps it's been, can I say, abused. Otherwise, in the tradition of the governments and institutions, there are certain personalities that you give, certain respects to, as a show of comradeship. Although my learned,
in violation of the Constitution.
He says no. It's not at the expense of the duty that they have to do a due diligence for the assessment of the nominees on behalf of the country. You see, as far as capacity is concerned, I think that is for the executive, isn't it, to determine who the president thinks is fit. What the National Assembly is expected to do is like a checklist. Does this person meet the constitutional requirement, to be nominated as a minister? Is he from that state? Is he of the age? Does he have the certificates required? Did he attend his NYC certificate? Does he have his NYC certificate? Haven't met all the statutory requirements of, being engaged, by the state for ministerial or whatever position you want to put somebody. So, people saying that, like the issue of not attaching portfolio, to the list of the people that the president sends to the National Assembly. I think performance and capability, that is for the president to determine, But whether or not the person qualifies as per the constitution of the country is what, by and large, the National Assembly, supposed to concentrate on. Then the issue of, other people having petitions or things against them, that is for the security agencies. So, but some people are mixing the two, the three actually. There's the responsibility of the executive, which is the president himself, who will determine whether this person, is fit. He has that prerogative, and the National Assembly cannot say no. The only time they can say no is if it doesn't qualify, if the person does not qualify by way of what the Constitution has said you must have.
All right.
I have a different view concerning that, because before you send a list to the National Assembly to confirm, it is assumed that you have done all security checks. Number one, the National Assembly members do not have access to the security background of those people, because that is what will help them to confirm such a person. And we have always complained about this process. In the last regime, when certain resident electoral commissioners were appointed, national commissioners were appointed, Nigerians went out to complain about certain people. But because this nomination had come from the president, the Senate felt that, let us not offend the president. But by going ahead to confirm people who have shady security backgrounds, you already offending the president, because you're not helping the president to get the right people to do the work. Now, you would assume that the president took 58 days to send the first list because they were going through those kind of security checks. Before the president should bring a name out, he should have security information about a particular person who he is going to delegate duties to, because as a minister you are delegating your powers as president to that minister to represent you. So if we are saying that it doesn't matter that the security agencies shouldn't have a security report, and then let the Senate go ahead, what when the Senate confirms that person, the person is given the appointment, and suddenly there's this damaging security report. It's in that the entire process. So we should actually have a process that we can follow before even the president sends a name out. As soon as his list is ready, he sends it to the security agents. The security agencies do a security check, background, and all of that. And even at times too, the assets declaration form should be filled. All of those things, because those are the things that will help the Senate do that. And then the other aspect about, we have also seen in this country where you want to appoint people, they're not even patriotic enough to be able to even sing the national anthem or even know the national pledge. That should be the first thing, fundamental thing. And if we keep going ahead doing the same things that we are doing without really looking at what has happened in the past, you mentioned the issue of Magu. Even when the Senate said we're not going to approve that, we're not going to confirm this person, he remained in office. And then now if we go from saying because the president has appointed, nominated somebody, the Senate cannot drop that person, even in the light, knowing that that person does not have any capacity to do that. What happens is that we keep going round the circle of incompetence, not being able to even interpret the mandate. And then we have continuously said it is important that when you are making nominations, attach the portfolios. Now, the Chief of Staff have been saying that there may be new ministries. We don't even know know where that is going to come from. We don't know which of the ministries they may merge. We don't know which ones they are going to split. And what will be the explanation to help our economy to say, this is the reason why we are splitting this ministry, or this is the reason why we are creating this ministry. Are we just creating the ministries because the Constitution says you must have at least one person, because it is at least one person from every state, and so you find out that you don't have enough ministries, and so you just go ahead to create ministries because you want to put people in the position without really looking at the value that they will bring to the table around that. So, in a nutshell, what I am looking at is, one, calling out the security agencies to say, this is the kind of thing that that you have done. What is the report about this person? Can this person go, even though the person have met the minimum qualification? And we know that for you to move from one level, secondary level, to tertiary level, there is a minimum qualification of 5 years, or five subjects that you must have at credit level before you move on to that. So why should it be Senate discovering that, and not the security agents discovering that? That should be part of the security information that the security agents would have given to the people, and not something to be done on the floor of the House. And then just chip in here and say that the ministerial nominees that we have, the Senate is screening them on our behalf because they are our representatives from our different constituencies. So if these people have been brought in from different states, like what happens, okay, you go, because you have been nominated from a particular state, you go to see all the senators from your state, and all the senators from your state give you a nod and say, okay, you are good to go. Every other senator aligns and say you are good to go, even if they know that you are not qualified, you are not capable to do that. So we need to go back again, look at, one, the process. What is the qualification? The basic qualification we have seen, okay, because you can qualify to be a member of House of Rep, but interpreting that does not mean that you have to be a politician. We have seen in this country where non-politicians were even appointed as ministers, and they performed excellently well. If they have the qualification, the security agents have cleared them, then Senate would now do their own work on that. But coming again, the issue of taking a bow. I think I want to believe that the wisdom behind taking a bow is, for instance, you have a committee of people, you have worked together, you know this person's capacity, you know that this person can deliver on that. So the person comes and you say, take a bow, because we already have done that. But that does not stop you from interrogating the capacity of the person to work in another place, because having been a legislator does not mean you can do administrative work as a minister.
There's something that always bothers me when it comes to this, and we say that even when the government is in place, the bureaucracy, the civil service, these are the ones that will drive government policies under the political appointees. Yet, in the same civil service, that's speaking on the matter of having worked with some people, knowing their capacity, asking them to take a bow. Yet in the same civil service, where a civil servant works for 35 years maybe, with his superiors, with his colleagues and his subordinates, they have to write an examination, be screened, and no promotion panel says to the civil servant, oh, you've been working here for 5 years, take a bow and go. But when it comes to leading the country, you do that. Is that acceptable?
No, but we may have to think about maybe amending the Constitution, but beware of the separation of powers. The prerogative of appointing somebody as a nominee to serve under you as a minister, that rests with the executive.
Yes.
And that is why even the competence issue, unless you run foul of the requirements of the Constitution, the Senate cannot, deny you the president, the prerogative of appointing who he wants to appoint. But if the Senate can say no, for the fact the man doesn't have the qualification required, or the age, or some other things that is said in the Constitution, then the president will have no choice but to drop the nominee. So this is what I want to understand. And then the security checks that is normally carried out, that also is something that the president can override if he likes to. You know, so unless you amend the constitution to say that the Senate can now determine, the competence of the nominee, not the qualification.
All right. We'll at this point take a number of reports that we do have, and we'll return to this issue.
It's all right.
And when we get to see those reports, the first we're playing back tonight is from Port Harcourt.
The determinants of good administration is the qualities of machineries that drive the policies and programs of government. To achieve growth, the present administration, led by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, is on the verge of producing ministers that will man different ministries. This development many Nigerians in Port Harcourt acknowledge as a welcome development, owing to the fact that the list of ministers' nominees is made up of technocrats, professionals and experienced politicians who have performed creditably well in various capacities.
That we have now in the ministerial list, in my own opinion, many are very good professionals. And one good thing with the president in the nomination, which I see, is the women affirmative, giving about 7 slots to women on the list is highly commendable. And the women choosing are core professionals, people that have a very good track record of performance.
Because we have seen their outputs, we have seen their scorecard, we've seen what they did. They gave their state projects. Like Umahi, he did a lot, built airport, built university, constructed roads, capital projects. Again, you pick Wike, too. He transformed the states. So I've been in this state for over 30 years. He has done so much in this state.
The key indicator of growth in every economy is balancing of power, identifying capable hands and assigning portfolios using expertise and experience. This, the citizens believe, will achieve the desired results at all sectors of the economy.
To put the round peg in a round hole or a square peg in a square hole. I am saying that ministerial work position must not always be that the person must be a professional, but what is important, it involves both administrative aspect of the work.
Look at the age bracket. You find out that you have people of 36 years, 39 years and 40 years, which is almost the first time in the history of Nigeria that you have a minister that is less than 40 years. So I think that he is trying to balance both the new and the old, and both the experienced and inexperienced person, so that we be able to achieve the policies he wants Nigerians to benefit from.
While the country goes through a total rebirth, it is the expectations of many Nigerians that the leaders will be committed to turning things around by initiating sound policies and programs for total development.
All right, and that report from Port Harcourt. Our next report is from Kaduna.
From the first day in office, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu hit the ground running, introducing reforms and interventions to revive the economy and mitigate the impact of fuel subsidy removal. To drive the implementation of these reforms and interventions, 28 ministers' nominees have been screened by the Senate to form members of the Federal Executive Council. An elder statesman, Shaibu Galma, says the administration needs competent individuals with track record of achievement to assist President Bola Tinubu in moving the country forward.
There are so many technocrats who can handle so many people-oriented ministries and so on. So I have that confidence. He has so many to choose from.
For us, he has done the right thing. We hope the 28 nominees will be able to perform.
Other Nigerians say they are expecting a cabinet that is capable of tackling insecurity, corruption, unemployment, and contribute with laudable ideas to promote economic growth.
What our president is trying to do is to establish a very good, competent cabinet, those that are going to help him succeed in his government. And from the list of nominees that has been sent to the Senate, I would like to take particularly from our nominee, in Kaduna State, our former governor and leader, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai. We all know that he's a very competent hand.
Put a retired general in the Ministry of Defense, you will see work. You understand me? He is definitely is going to be their senior. You get me? And it's going to be clear he is somebody who knows the job and so on and so forth. It is going to work.
Confederation of all support groups of Nigeria, APC, we are optimistic that the remaining appointment for the ministers come from the support groups.
The general consensus among Nigerians is that they are hopeful that the President Tinubu's second list of remaining ministers will also consist of names of competent and patriotic Nigerians who will work for the interests of the country.
All right. Back here in the studio after those two reports from Port Harcourt and Kaduna, still with the issues here. And Nigerians speaking out there on what they think about the nominees and what they think they should concentrate on. And just before we took those reports, I mean, sorry, you were trying to come in on...
Yes, I was trying to talk in respect of the matter being discussed, this issue of take a bow and go. You see, sovereignty belongs to the people. Under Section 14, subsection 1 of the Constitution, you are representatives of the people. There are petitions from your respective constituencies coming. You said, let's keep them in the cooler, take a bow and go. The exigencies facing Nigeria now, from 1960 to date, there has never been a time when Nigeria requires thorough screening of ministerial nominees, like now. There has never been a time when we have humongous degree of indebtedness against the nation. There has never been a time when Nigeria is divided among sentimental divides. There has never been a time when Nigeria is facing very, very serious, unsurmountable security challenges in all nooks and corners of the country. There has never been a time when Nigeria is declared as a poverty capital like today. There has never been a time when our young men, the teeming number of unemployed young men roaming the streets is as humongous as we are having today. Now, based on this, anybody that is to be entrusted with the responsibility of handling any of the departments of the government, he must be somebody who should be adjudged to be the best among the competent bests. The Senate acrobat and retrobate, because they said that they would not go by take a bow and go. This is what we are seeing today. It has become the normal routine. Virtually everyone will take a bow and go. Therefore, for anybody to be qualified to be a minister, because ministerial position is a very sacred responsibility of matriculating competent Nigerians who will be graduated ultimately as statesmen. You must therefore be able to give that person to have some prerequisite qualities. Number one, understanding the homogeneity of Nigeria, so that you will be able to use the yardstick of justice and balanced fair play when you get into the office. Greater number of politicians now look at appointment of minister as either compensation or with this state. But it's not that. If you think that you are going to serve your political party or your state, or even President Tinubu, you are wrong. It's a second responsibility. You are going to be the vicegerent of Almighty God in respect of the ministry given to you, so that you will ensure balanced justice for all and sundry in the country. We must evolve ministers that will be able to bring about national cohesion. Then we must be able to bring ministers that will be able to entrench bureaucratic discipline. We must be able to bring ministers that will be able to be the real flag bearers of the fight against corruption. As per the provision of Section 15, subsection 5, corruption has become so bad that every average politician is looking at it. You see some people even talking about juicy positions, juicy ministry, juicy this. We have to really change the psyche and the thinking of an average politician so that politics should be seen as an institution of service so that you represent Almighty God in delivering justice regarding the particular ministry given to you. Nigeria cannot afford anymore to continue business as usual. If we really want to solve most of the socio-economic, political, and security challenges bedeviling the nation, if we continue as usual, then the renewed hope we are thinking about, we are trying to dash the hope at the beginning of the renewed hope.
All right. At this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, the phone lines will be open, and then you can join in the conversation in the studio. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, this segment, the phone lines will be open. The numbers will be on your screen. You can call in to air your views, and we just remind you every Tuesday that if you're calling in and your call gets through to the studio, do us a favor, turn down the volume of your TV set to avoid the hurlback or the echo. And we encourage you to go straight to the point and not to worry too much about greetings. Hello. It's as simple as that. Okay, so do keep the calls coming through. We start off with another of our reports. This one is from Oka.
Presidents commended President Bola Tinubu for nominating people and technocrats that cut across party lines apart from the ruling APC, noting that the ministerial nomination list reflects Nigerians' diversity and inclusivity, which will help to tackle challenges facing the country.
We expect them to bring new blood into the system to make correction from what we have been suffering all the while. So we expect them to do something that is good, that is democratic, that is people-friendly, you know, something that will develop the country, that will bring succor to people and remove most of this hardship.
We want the ministers to do the good work we can favor Nigeria. What is the suffer? If they can change in Nigeria, it's okay. Nigeria want the government we can come and do better things in Nigeria. Real corruption move out.
They also said some names on the ministerial list have a track record of success in their respective fields to drive progress and development.
They should know that they are serving people, the nation. They should serve the nation not for what they will benefit, at least for the future of our children.
We pray that he brings more, and so that they will impact in helping to engender the democracy that we all prayed for.
The nominees, drawn from 25 states of the Federation, comprise 4 former governors, 6 former federal lawmakers, 2 former lawmakers, 7 presidential advisors, and 7 women, among others.
All right, back in the studio after the report from Oka. We'll continue examining the issues at stake. Well, the screening will continue tomorrow for the remaining 5 of the initial 28 as we await list B.
Batch B.
Batch B. So more like the NYC.
NYC, yeah.
Okay, but while that is going on, and assuming that the Senate finds the nominees worthy of being confirmed and the President goes ahead, appoints them, and assigns his ministry, what are the qualities that Nigerians should be looking out for? What would they want these crop of appointees to do differently from what we have seen in the past, including the recent past? Jide.
For me, as a rider to what Dr. Umar Kogo said, they are coming on board at a very critical juncture of our national life, where all eyes is on the president and the presidency. We know the president cannot on his own superintend over that number of people, given other international and national assignments he may have. Imagine presidents scheduled to be at different forums, 3, 4 in a day. He needs to send either the vice president or a minister to represent or a special advisor. And that's why we need our best 11 to be on that seat. It should be a not seat, not a cold seat where they will be bench warmers. Ironically, history has not been kind to previous occupiers, many of whom sees those positions as positions for personal aggrandizement. You possibly will have seen, going through pages of newspaper, congratulatory messages from diverse people, their church members, their mosque colleagues, their former business mates or business partners,
classmates,
school alumni, and all of that. Why? Because they have now attained position of influence. They are now going to be controlling budgets. So people have not greeted them in the last 10, 15, 20 years. People never knew whether they existed since they left schools, maybe university or secondary school or primary school, will suddenly find their phone numbers and start greeting them and start putting them on notice. Please, I'm into this business, I'm into that. Please don't forget your power and all of that. But this is the time to help bake, not to share cake. Because everybody comes with a long knife to share the national cake. That's why what we have left is crumbs. And one other thing I need to flag is that there is high desire for constitutional alteration to reduce the number of cabinet of Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are talking of reducing the cost of governance. Yet, a president will appoint 42 ministers, 28. And these 20 are in the realm of special advisor, maybe senior special advisors, or special assistants. There are others, personal assistants and all of that. And we want to reduce cost of governance. How do you want to reconcile the two? The major challenge I have now is that the former Minister of State for Labor said having Minister of State is illegal or illegitimate. Right. I don't know whether Kogo will speak to that. But if that is true, I haven't read any part of the constitution that speaks to that. But if that is true, and from all indications, the president may have 42 ministers. Are we going to have 42 ministries?
All right, just hang on a moment. Let's take on this call. Michael calling in from Abuja. Hello, Michael. Go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, quickly. The first thing I want to talk about is the issue of the number on the list. The Constitution, Section 147, says the president should nominate minimum of one person per state. And the fifth alteration refers to that particular section by saying that it should be submitted within 60 days. In other words, minimum of 36 names should be submitted by the 29th. I don't know why people are trying to paint things red when they are white. Minimum of 36 names. He can appoint 100 ministers. The Constitution didn't stop him from doing that. But on the 29th, he will bring 36 names. After that, he can do another 36 or 40. It's irrelevant. Then again, the issue of take a bow and go. Let me even go back to the fact that I have not seen in any crime where Senate in the hallowed chamber screens members of the cabinet. It is never done anywhere. And we're talking about copying from America and testing wrongly. In America, it takes a minimum of 2 weeks to screen ministers, and they are done in committee rooms, not in the hallowed chamber. They are done in the committee rooms. When you go to committee rooms, you sit down and they grill you. In fact, I remember there was even a minister from Oklahoma at one point who was even a former senator, and after grilling him, the Senate refused to okay him. So this also brings to the point that the Senate can say, look, we do not approve Mr. A or Mr. B or Mr. C. Otherwise, what is the need of screening? If it is just to come and read my role and say, okay, we have approved all the list. The idea is to take everybody through the process. What I suggest is that the Senate should have appointed maybe 2 members per state, okay, and they go to committee room and take weeks to screen our candidates for ministerial appointment. And after that, it is only the chairman of that committee that can come to the floor of the Senate to address the Senate and then report, what the committee has done for approval by the Senate or rejection, as the case may be. So those are very, very critical issues. And if we are copying, let us copy well. Go to the U.S. when they screen their ministers or secretaries, as the case may be. You can't see this kind of thing that is going on, where in the hallowed chamber, ministers are addressing senators as if they are addressing their students in the classroom. It's not done. You go to a committee room, you sit down, take your time, explain yourself. And more so, it is important that portfolios are attached. I don't know why we keep running away from this thing. Can you imagine, Cyril, just like you asked, if the idea is just to submit anything before the 29th, one day a president will wake up and submit one name, and people sitting there will say he has met the constitutional requirement. He has not met the constitutional requirement. The Constitution says minimum of 1 per state, and that list, as referenced by the alteration of the Constitution on 5th alteration, says that list must be submitted before the 50th day. It hasn't been done. Unfortunately, even the IPAC man, I thought there was opposition. There's no opposition. The opposition ought to stand up on the day that list was announced and say, we do not have a list in this Senate. The list should be a minimum of 36. And then everybody will talk about it, and the president, will go back and bring 36 names. He can remove them 1 week after, just like one of you said.
Okay.
But
All
the
right.
right thing must be done first.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I expected something better than what is going on right now.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you. Okay. Well, keep the calls coming through. And yes. And Jide had just finished giving that aspect of what to expect from those who eventually cross the hurdle and are appointed. Let's hear from Engineer Oyabagi here.
Yeah, well, the question is, who is the minister? Who is the minister? I think it's the person that exercises the responsibility of the president in the ministry. So he's as good as the president. And that's why the expectation of that person is very high. He must be somebody above board. He must work and understand the urgency of now, insecurity, economic retrogression, the hunger, on the land, and our issues with corruption. The ministers must pacify somebody who Nigerians would believe in as somebody who you can trust.
Okay, if you might just let me ask you to hold on a while. John is on the phone from Cross River. Hello, John. John, go ahead.
Okay, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, John. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Evening. I'm here. Good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is that let people appoint a good minister, because we have suffered in this country. In this country. So we need President Buhari to continue to appoint a good minister, because we feel that he's not available, maybe traveling, and the Senate do the actual. They should not use corruption and cover someone that is bad. Let his, because us, I'm speaking on behalf of students, because we believe have started in this country, and he should appoint a very good minister from the youth aspect of this country, because Nigeria, I don't know where Nigeria is heading to. Let him just appoint a very good minister for Nigeria. So this is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. So, Engineer Oyabagi, back to the point you were making.
Yeah, the point I was making is that a minister is just like Mr. President himself. And therefore, the person must meet the requirements. How do we solve these economic problems that we have today? Because insecurity, other things we're talking about, all emanates from the fact that our economy is in tatters. And it does not seem as if we have a solution that Nigerians believe in. What am I trying to say? The president has been talking, his last speech, he talked about the issue of palliatives, intervention, and all these things. These things did not work. It has not worked in this country. And until we begin to punish people when they run foul of the law, it doesn't matter how good the programs may be. And look at where we are coming from, the issue of subsidies that we're talking about. Subsidies were managed by a particular organization. I have not heard of anything about investigating that organization, probing that organization, bringing the people to book. Let Nigerians see that we are serious people. Yes, it's very easy to announce that, okay, I've removed subsidy. But it's not that subsidy was bad. It's not only in this climate that you have subsidy. Even the so-called developed economies, they have subsidies. America has subsidies on agriculture, on education, on everything that you can talk about. But why is it working there is because it is managed in a responsible manner. And this one that Nigerians are all now suffering, no one individual has been taken, for investigation yet. The only one that I see Mr. President has acted, on is that of CBN. But the problems of this country can be traced to the way we manage our resources. And I think that is one thing that everybody is asking Mr. President to do.
Right. We go back to the phone lines. We have Emeka calling from Lagos. Hello, Emeka. Emeka.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, all.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, good evening. Hello, yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Emeka.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yes. I just have a short comment about the program.
Right.
On the aspect of the nomination of the ministers, please, I think we should do more needful than what we are doing now. What I saw yesterday on the screen was something else. I think if we want to pick up people that will represent us, that will be our minister, we should not recycle them. I thank that honorable man, Menasara. I appreciate him for all he has contributed in this particular program. Please, we should not hide under any umbrella. Let's say it as it is. And let's be truthful and frank to our people. And let people know how it's going. I think Mesara is giving a point. I thank him.
All right, Emeka, thank you so much. Yes, one more due diligence done in the screening process. Right. Okay, so expectations, please.
My expectations from the ministerial nominees when eventually they get appointed.
Or if
that's what I'm saying. If eventually they get appointed, is to first and foremost look at how to get Nigeria out of poverty. With over 133 million Nigerians multidimensional poverty, we should have programs that address, social security and bring people out of poverty, so that we can have more people around the table contributing to that, and also to have ministers who would understand that we have emergency in all of the sectors, in the health sector, in the security sector, in the economic sector. We have emergencies everywhere. And so they should take the job as that emergency, come up with policies, look at existing policies, good ones that are working, because we know that Nigeria is a country with wonderful, fantastic policies that are never implemented. So look at the ones that are working and come up with those reform programs that is inclusive enough to carry Nigerians along. And for me, most importantly, is to be able to let Nigerians know exactly what is happening, so that you can have the buy-in of Nigerians in those policy reforms and implementation.
All right. More calls coming through. Charles, I believe, calling in from Abuja. Hello, Charles. Hello, let's hear you.
Hello?
Hello, Charles.
Yes, Stephen, how are you?
Good, let's hear.
Okay, my contribution is just that the Senate has not done a good job at all. The running of the economy or choosing a minister is far beyond merely telling a person to take a bow and go. The Senate has not done a good job. Then besides, there is one thing that we should also know, that if you have somebody who is being nominated for screening, and this person has been in government for about 8 years, for one thing, you should allow him to go and rest. Let him go, just take some rest before coming back. We have 2 million people, 200 million people in this country. And there's too many people who are more qualified than the people who are now being nominated for screening. They should look elsewhere and nominate people who can do better job. We've seen most of the people who are now being screened. And what impact do they have on the society that we are recycling them? I don't believe in all this recycling of the thing. So please let us look elsewhere. And for the people who are discussing on this program, I'm not too sure that you are being sincere to Nigeria, because we want people who will go onto the television program and discuss the mind of Nigerians. But unfortunately, I'm so disappointed that What I've had this evening, I don't expect it because we are not representing the interest of an average Nigerian who is suffering today. Please, this is my contribution. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Charles. Appreciate your comments. And back here in the studio, Maina Sarah, you started talking about it in the first segment here. The qualities that are expected given what is on ground and what needs to be addressed and addressed quickly too.
Well, I would like to advise President Tinubu, once the Senate finish their exercise, do not rush in appointing them. Gather them in a hall. Don't allow any of them to get out because they can hire consultants to do it. Let each of them give you a sectoral blueprint on how he will repackage a particular sector for improved service delivery within a period of 3 months to 6 months. The particular portfolio you are envisaging to give Mr. A, ask him to write it here within a period of 30 minutes, 1 hour. Let them write and then give you. If you allow them to go out, they will hire consultants. Let them bring out the something so that you will be able to, for example, if you said you want somebody to become, for example, Attorney General and Minister of Justice, how will you bring about service delivery that will be in consonant with the uniformity of the interests of common man and the rich man? How will you amend sections 230 to 304, for example, to bring about anti-corruption court, national or federal electoral offenses court, crime and insecurity courts, miscellaneous offenses court? How will you bring about this? How will you reduce the time it will take in litigation so that within a period of 1 to maximum 6 weeks, justice will be delivered, because justice delayed is justice denied. If, for example, you want to become an FCT minister, how will you ensure that FCT is decongested by a particular percentage so that the master plan will be rolled back? How will you ensure that within the FCT, sanity is being brought? Because criminalities, insecurity, issue of lack of infrastructure, lack of street lights, and all these things, dirtiness, and how will you let somebody give you a blueprint on what the magic he will give within a period of 3 to 6 months? And in addition to that, ask him, can he make international comparative analysis? Where did we leave our peer group institutions? Where did we leave the issue of taking into cognizance those our mates in the international fora, so that you will be able. Then ask them to tally that in the line with the Millennium Development Goal, now Sustainable Development Goals. And at the same time too, ask them, what will be the processes that these theories you have brought will be actualized? If he tells you, I will take it, I will be able to bring so contractual proposal before Federal Executive Council, tell him, under my leadership, Federal Executive Council will no more be the tenders board it is used to be, because there is National Council for Procurement. Federal Executive Council should be an avenue whereby policy issues will be brought, discussed, analyzed, digested, so that at the end of it, those policies would not be cascaded down the parastatals under your particular ministry, and then competent material should be assigned with the responsibility for that particular sector.
All right, we have another caller, this time calling in from Lagos. Hello, just tell us your name and go right ahead with your comment or question.
Yeah, please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Begros. I'm calling from Lagos. So please, as far as I am concerned, I am not satisfied with the list that the President sent to the Senate, because looking at that, from all indications, you see that these are recycled people. We should take a lead from what President Olusegun Obasanjo did. Where are the likes of Okonjo-Iweala? Where are the likes of Obiese Fesili? Where are the likes of Dola Akunyele? These people were not there before, but this man went and picked them from nowhere and they were able to transform this nation in their respective portfolios. To me, this is all recycled people for crying out loud. So please, let us do what is right. We have millions of Nigerians. And honestly, I like what the barrister, the lawyer man in the studio is actually saying. So these are all recycled people for crying out loud. We are not satisfied. To me, it's like a political compensation that is doing. So please, the real people are out there. We have technocrats, we have young people. He said he's going to appoint young people. Where are the young people? These are still the same people that campaigned for him, that he went and chose to be the ministers. So who is deceiving who? These are his political praise singers. So please, let's be truthful. Let's do what is right for this country to actually move forward. If we want this country to move forward for crying out loud.
Okay.
Honestly, there are young people everywhere, Nigerians everywhere, all over the world, who are fit to be ministers and deliver properly, for the benefit of this nation.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your call. Yes. Back here. Well, Nigerians stating their preferences there. There are some sectors that would be seen as requiring immediate, well, if not all, but there are some that require immediate attention because they impact heavily on the populace. You started mentioning some of them in the studio here. Okay, all right, we'll get to that. Let's take in this call from Aliu. Aliu is calling in from Abuja. Hello, Aliu.
Mr. Secretary.
Yes, go ahead.
Please, I just want to ask where are our accountants? Please, Tinubu is trying to distribute palliatives and relief for Nigeria. Please, this is 500 billion naira going to be distributed, some 100, going to be distributed by bodies. Let each and every Nigerian have 1 million naira. You will see that everybody in Nigeria will be happy. Even the unborn child should have 1 million naira. Out of all this amount, these people are talking, they want to buy this, they want to buy that. If you give a woman who is selling at 1 million naira now, I'm telling you, Mr. Siri, that woman, she is going to establish more, her family will be happy, everybody in the family will be happy. So please, you people should come together, advise those that are concerned. Let's give every Nigerian $1 billion naira.
Okay, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Aliu. Unfortunately, tonight the issue at stake is the screening of ministerial nominees. Yes, I do agree that what you put in forward might have a bearing on what we're discussing here, because some of these policies that the president enunciated in his last broadcast to the nation would be driven by members of his cabinet who are currently being screened. And so that's where we are at the point, looking at the process and what is expected of them. We will, of course, as we always do, bring to the public view the question of how the palliatives are distributed. And then we would have the professionals who would dissect your suggestion of giving 1 million naira to every Nigerian, including the unborn children of Nigeria. So when we do get to a program like that, of course, we'd appreciate you to call in as well. But thanks anyway for calling in. Thank you so much. Yes, we were at the point of, okay, another caller is on the line, Chima from Port Harcourt. Hello, Chima. Let's hear you.
This Chima from Port Harcourt.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, George.
Yes, good evening, Chima. Go ahead.
My contribution is this about the ministerial thing. Please, what we are seeing sometimes is embarrassing. When somebody comes in our chamber and say, bow and go. Bow and go. And at the end of the day, the ingredients of that, the questions, you not ask the man to say something. The man did not say anything. You see somebody who they have been in government position and they bring him, just come and ask questions. At the end of the day, nobody asks questions. And the funny part of it, the senior president said, I put it to them, not when after this we will see again. No. Now, not next time he will come here, it's when you want another clearance. It's embarrassing. Telling the man that he should come back again to come and see you after you see him. I think that he's not in that day. It's embarrassing. And another one, who is against that out of what I'm saying is no, every time we are making this kind of Tuesday night, please ask from people who did not go to school much. Because we represent 70% of Nigerians. How many so sometimes you bring people here, they'll come here and go, it's me, my brother, Joe, I don't know, I want it's very a comment here, and another my small. But some people will come here and they make grammar, nothing happens. This country, we need to do our truth. You need to bring everybody on board so that we can be able to talk the truth, tell the way it is. We are hungry. On the other side, they say about increase of petrol. After they presented it, I know this is not what I'm discussing. But he didn't mention anything that social time the final will work. Social time this final will work, or just the final will work. Nothing. We are not waiting to hear just millions and billions for digging out to Nigeria, and some at the end of the day, about 90% of us is not.
All right, Chima, thank you so much. I do assure you that when we call on our guests and we select our guests who come in here and speak on the issues we raise, they cut across all strata of society. And we appreciate and we believe that they represent all segments, and they're not necessarily the grammar people that you say they are. They are grassroots people as well as the grammar people. We bring them here, and they all represent. And of course, what more, we also give the opportunity to those who cannot be here to call in or send in messages just like you have done right now. Thank you very much for calling in. Now, back to the studio. We're looking at certain critical sectors of the economy which will need an immediate shot in the arm to get them going again. Easily, energy, power is one of them. And we see that happening. Minister had talked about the finances of the country in the doldrums, and this needs immediate attention. And I think I heard health been mentioned. But Engineer Yabagi, from your background as an engineer, tell us the critical things you think about the energy sector, for instance, dealing with power.
Well, energy sufficiency is a key to industrialization, and I believe that when you look at Nigeria from the macroeconomic point of view, one sector that affects our macroeconomy is the oil and gas sector. If the price of crude goes up, it affects our reserve, it affects our exchange rate, it affects everything about this country at the macro level. And even down to the micro level, where we are now talking about subsidies and things like that. So I think Mr. President will do very well by appointing tested people. Minister of Finance, well, he already has somebody acting as governor of Central Bank, and NNPC, the Minister of Energy, Petroleum Resources. I'm saying this because for a long time, there is no alignment between our fiscal policies and monetary policies. You find the governor of Central Bank dabbling into issues, he became the Minister of Industries, Minister of Health, Minister of this thing, so whereas Central Bank governors are supposed to deal with policy issues and then advise the government at the level of economic council meetings where they direct, so that you have proper alignment of these fiscal policies and monetary policy. That has to be sorted out. Otherwise, we'll continue to have the problems we're having. Okay. The amount of money we spend on sustaining Naira during MFL's time, it's believe me, it's a criminal thing. So I'm saying that trade and investments, we need investments. We need investments in this economy, and this is the economy that is laden with potentials, attractive, but your judiciary, must be something that people can be able to, like the Minister was saying, that people can rely, can believe, and then rely on that. If I need to take my money out, I don't have any laws that will prevent me from taking my money out. Okay. So your industrial policies must be your energy policy, talking about power sector. So these are key sectors of the economy: Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, the power sector, the finance sector, and then you now have the petroleum industry because of the impact of it in our macro economy.
Let me pick your brain a little bit, Jide, on this matter. Two quick things. First, petroleum. Do you envisage, now we don't know for sure, we've also heard that there would be some form of restructuring of ministries and perhaps departments and agencies, but would you see, for instance, the president appointing a minister of petroleum resources, as against what we've had in past administrations where the president was also the minister of petroleum resources? That's one aspect. Then an interesting thing as well, going from what Engineer Yabagi just said here now, he talked about monetary policy and fiscal policy. The president started off appointing an advisor, a special advisor on monetary policy. That advisor is a ministerial nominee right now. Are you thinking there would be a replacement, or he would hold both the positions of being minister and advisor, or perhaps there would be a replacement in some form of way, as we're seeing with the nomination of Dele Alaki being on the ministerial seat, and then Ajuri Ngilali taking over as medium publicity?
Well, I am of the considered view that the president will likely appoint a replacement for Musawa Alake Wale Edun, those who were initially mentioned for special advisor and special assistant, but who have now joined the ministerial list. That is the fit and proper thing to do. As to the issue of petroleum, whether the president will retain that position like former President Muhammadu Buhari did, I will advise him against it, even if he intends to, because he has his plate full. Right now, he is the chairman of ECOWAS. He is battling with restoring constitutional order in Nigeria Republic.
Speaking of which, do you think that's this is the right time for him to now take on the troubles of West Africa.
But he accepted. He accepted to serve as ECOWAS chairman. And for the next 1 year, he's going to be bogged down with that. We know the other flashpoint. We just read about Sierra Leone, that the police in Sierra Leone arrested some soldiers who were planning coup against Madabio. And that's the worrisome part. So the president, I will advise him strongly not to toe the line of former President Muhammadu Buhari, because he made a mess of that Ministry of Petroleum Resources. The Minister of State was practically powerless to do anything, and he could not oversight that department or that ministry, so much so that there were a lot of white theft under his watch. There was a lot of fraud in terms of subsidy repayment under his watch. So of what essence is being a president as well as Minister of Petroleum Resources? But one other thing, unless I forget, one other area critical to every other thing we are discussing is security. Look, if we can have a stable polity, stable environment, we can deal seriously with issue of insurgency, banditry, unknown government, and people can, because the whole essence of all this state of emergency in agriculture, you know, agric revolution, you want to do this, you want to put 200 billion in cultivation of wheat, rice, and all of that. You can only do that successfully where there's atmosphere of peace. Many people in rural communities have come to the city centers because of the issues of banditry on their farms. So if we don't deal with the issue of security, appoint the best of the best, they will not be able to perform. And people should stop this idea of recycling. I don't have any problem with somebody being recycled if he's competent. It's about competence. Experience cannot be purchased. You can be the best, technocrat in US, in Russia, or wherever, and you are in Nigeria, and you are like a fish out of water. You need that wealth of experience. It's like somebody saying, oh, what's Siri still doing in NTA? Are there no young people that can do this program? They are. But do they have your wealth of knowledge and experience on this job? So people should just not be, I don't know, I'm not saying they are not entitled to their opinion, but we should not just be too fixated that because somebody has previously served, he should go and rest. And why should you deny somebody benefit of reaping where he sowed? These people, many of them, worked out for the victory of their principal. If I invested, there are people who bought from 100 million. Look at you, the lady from Anambra State who decided to throw her hat in the ring and decided to step down for President Tinubu during the primary. Are you saying for that act she should not be compensated? Okay. She is a lawyer by profession. She's done a lot of charity work. I monitored her screening at the Senate yesterday. Are you going to deny her this? And when people say, how many of those 28 have you had their names before? Less than half of them. Okay. Many of them are new. And you cannot say, for instance, someone like Dele Alake or somebody like Wale Edu, because he served as commissioner over 15 years ago, should no longer be in government, is being recycled. This is somebody who co-founded Stanbic IBTC. So are you saying it's not a technical? We have someone from Oyo State, Adebayo Adelabu, who was a former deputy governor of Central Bank, who was a first-class brain from Obafemi Awolowo University in accounting. So are you saying that he's not a technocrat just because he contested the election and lost, and that the president should not compensate him or appoint him into higher political office because of that law? So I think we should moderate our views. People deserve their reward. If you work for somebody, all those who are saying, oh, you go to Harvard and bring people. We have brought people from outside of the country. Many of them are frustrated. So it's not all about where they come from or their profession. The president must also create the enabling environment for them to perform.
Okay. Well, we on the closing minutes now, so let's hear you, Faith.
Thank you very much. I want to say that the area of inclusion is very important. The sector, the petroleum sector, security sector, I don't really want to overemphasize that, but we know that inclusion, women, young people, persons with disability, is also important that we add to that conversation.
By the way, earlier on, Menasara Kugu disagreed with the view that there were young people in this list of nominees. He says he doesn't see.
There's a young lady who is about 36.
So 36 is a young age.
Well, definition.
When you are 36, you will be given exemption from participating in national youth service because you are no more.
Yes, that's true. You're right. So, in just looking at the petroleum sector, everybody's talking about the subsidy issue. Everybody's talking about the hardship in the country because of that. We need to look again into our country. What are the areas where we have strength, so that investments can be done there? And really, without security, we cannot have that. Without building the young population, the young people, building their skills to be able to do that. Now, even in the discussions around the petroleum sector, we need to also look at the solid mineral sector. We need to look at the gas that we have in the country as alternatives to fossil fuel, to crude oil, and most importantly, that we have to stop and urgently stop importation of refined products into the country, where we have the reserves that we have. Our refineries are not working. The modular refineries that are supposed to be working, they're also not working. So these are the areas I think we should declare a state of emergency and ensure that our economy works better to support Nigerians.
All right. Thank you so very much. And then the closing cue.
Yes, I think it is very important we reinvigorate the mindset of our people in Nigeria. I am saddened, with due respect, by the remarks of Jide. Politics is not investment. If you are going into politics expecting rewards based on our contractocratic type of kleptonic capitalist political system, then the whole political paradigm should be changed. We need to change so that politics will be about service, not about investments. It is unfortunate that you have to spend about 100 million that he's talking about. How many statesmen have 100 million to invest? Politics should not be seen about investments. And appointment should not be seen as cutting of cake. Rather, it is a sacred responsibility for you. The reward you will get is, ultimately you will graduate, like I said, as a statesman. Greater number of statesmen are those that assist in building Nigeria to a united entity, to a prosperous entity, to a giant nation that we are. An average politician's interest is, how do I use money or whatever, whether it's money, whether it's lies, whether it's whatever is it, to be able to win election. And when he wins election, how will he perpetuate himself on seat up to the end of his tenure without him get booted out? And at the end, when he is leaving, how will he get his surrogates to be the one to replace him so as to cover his misdeeds? So politics should be re-engineered so that it should be a profession of national honor. People should come to serve, not to loot.
Right. And it is on that note we conclude today's discussion. As I always say, no one program can take care of all the issues. We'd like to thank our guests for being here with us. Jide Ojo, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on these conversations. Thank you. And for the chairman of the Interparty Advisory Council, Sani Abagi, also a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you, sir.
Faith Wadishi, Center for Transparency Advocacy, thank you so much, and it's good to see you with us again.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a while. You've not been on this program, so thanks. I think the last was during
the elections.
Yes, during the elections. Yes. Thank you for being here with us. Sir. Right. And May Nasara Kogo Umar, again, it's a pleasure. We appreciate you being with us.
I pray Nigeria's governance should get it right this time around. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to you too for being part of it. Next week, we'll be back with NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Continue to stay safe.